Well, go on, everybody. Lennox here from Simple123 Trader. This is the weekly playbook outlook for July 18th to 23rd. Hope everybody's doing well and are safe. Taking a look at what's setting up for the futures in both the Forex and the stock market, and starting off with Australian dollar. First thing I want to say is this is the first time I'm looking at the charts for the weekend. I do not usually look at the charts until Sunday evening and just go over what I see. And then during the week, of course, I'll be playing on the stock market and the Forex in different pairs and indices. So I just taking a look at Australian dollar from last week's and the previous week's analysis. Again, I'll go over that. We had a head and shoulders pattern that formed even before this form that was calling for a head and shoulders pattern because of the structure of the chart. And it's the structure of the chart that gives away and the future moves in the instrument. And in this case, this downward move is now underway and is looking likely to make its way down into this area on the way down. So continued weakness in the Australian dollar going into this week. Now, of course, things don't just go in a straight line. As you can see, we have pullbacks, and anytime there's a pullback, it just gives you option to jump in and trade to the downside because the overall trend is to the downside. So you just stick with the trend and stay in that instrument. Okay, so Australian dollar. Maybe a little bit of a bounce in the short term, but overall trend is still to the downside. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin also looking very lean and weak here, and also formed a head and shoulders pattern on the weekly. Big drop, and is now fighting to stay afloat, but looking to continue its trend to the downside. So anyone looking to pick up Bitcoin, opportunities are coming probably in the less than 25,000 or so. So right now it is trending to the downside after this. We're inside of a triangle, so any bounces to the upside would just be opportunities to sell Bitcoin. Okay, so similar to Aussie. Let's take a look at crude oil. Now, crude oil has had quite the run to the upside, but it hit a very serious resistance area and is now taking a little tumble. But this is just an opportunity to buy crude oil. So the strong move to the upside is going to be is still strong. It's just tempered by this move to the downside. I would expect continued strength going into further into the summer. Okay, so into this week, of course, maybe a little bit more, maybe a tad more weakness. We're at a very crucial point right now, but overall to the upside, I would be looking for. So any pullbacks is moves to the upside. Taking a look at the U.S. dollar on the weekly. Okay, U.S. dollar has come all the way down to a previous support area and quite a bounce, quite a drop, and now another bounce. So it looks like we're inside of a channel that will more than likely take another play, something like this, and then a drop. I would see the U.S. dollar doing that. Is of course, if I'm totally wrong, this could indeed break to the upside again. But right now, and that's for the longer term. In the short term, on the daily, looking a little strong here going into this week, but this could be short-lived because we're coming up to a very strong resistance area. So any moves to the upside here, um, we have to be careful because we're coming to the end of this. Our structure move here is basically coming to an end. Okay, so looks like strength in the short term for the US dollar. Looking at the euro on the weekly, also heading to the downside. Okay, so strengthen the US dollar presages weakness in the euro, and this is what's happening. So we have our structure again, and we're heading to the downside. Okay, so this is what's happening. Then we know support is here, so we are heading to that area. So any moves to the upside, short term, is just opportunities to sell the euro. The Swiss franc. The Swiss franc also created as quasi head and shoulders here, is now pushing to the downside, breaking these levels of neckline, and we're heading down. Okay, so further weakness, any upside moves are opportunities to sell, and this is what is happening. We're heading down. Okay, gold. Let's go to the weekly on gold. Gold has been very strong, and you can see the structure here, very strong up to this level, and is now trying to push back to the upside. But at first, it has to fight through all that that mess that it's in right now. On the daily, we're heading to the downside. So it is trying hard to push to the upside, but now it's broken this level, which is very critical here. So that means we are indeed heading down. So gold and silver looking very weak to the downside. Okay, so any pullbacks at all, sell gold. Japanese yen, weekly, has dropped considerably, reached support area, looking to turn. So opportunity may be setting up for a move to the upside. Short term, that's long term. Weekly, so short term on the daily for this week, strength and a little bit of strength. Just a retrace of this move, but a little bit of strength in the Japanese yen going into this week. Although, with the Olympic stuff going on and COVID and so forth, this could portend further weakness, but that could be long term, like I say. So we'll see. Okay, looking at the New Zealand dollar, and this should be similar to the Aussie, and it is. You can see head and shoulders, and we broke through the neckline. We're on our way down. Okay, so continued pressure on New Zealand dollar, just like Aussie. Any moves to the upside, opportunities to sell. Okay. And let's take a look at the Mexican peso on the weekly. So peso is struggling. You can see we're just sitting at this very strong resistance area. So what is it going to do this week? Made a big strong move to the upside, but is still fighting, trying to get out of this mess that it's in. So looks like further downside. US dollar strength will more than likely propel this to the downside in the short term at least. Okay. The next one is the British pound on the weekly. British pound is also taking a move to the downside. They didn't form a head and shoulders like the other ones, but it's sitting at a critical point looking to break through to the downside. So that's long term. On the daily for the week, we're heading down. Any moves to the upside, opportunity to sell the British pound. Okay. And silver. Now in last week's playbook, video weekly, I explained my brother-in-law was coming into town and he was asking about silver. What was the opportunity? He had bought some silver stocks and he was looking for price to shoot to the upside. It wasn't looking good. After seeing this move, everything pointed to down move. So I wasn't expecting it to happen as quickly, but you can see that that's exactly how it played out. So weekly, you can see on the weekly, um, it had reached a very critical point. When it formed that top, that was it. It was heading down. There was no other place for it to go, and that's what it's doing. And further weakness going into the week, and we could see this going quite a ways down. Okay, so here's support. So weakness in silver, weakness in gold. The Russell 2000 on the weekly, it too is taking quite a nosedive. So what I'm seeing on the Russell 2000 overall, this big huge move, and we are in a very strong area, but we're pushing back to the downside. So lots of weakness could take us way down. Okay, this is not the end of this market, but it's quite a turnaround to the downside. And you can see we've hit this area a number of times already. You can see it's a very critical point. So we've hit it once, twice, three times. This is the fourth time now, and all bets are off for this to turn around. Any moves to the upside, opportunities to sell. So I'm looking to be playing. This is one of my most favorite indices to play. I'm just looking to sell on this. The Dow 30 weekly also looking to turn. You can see everything. Like I told you last week, any moves to the upside, break into new highs, was opportunity for this to turn to the downside because it was short-lived move, and that's what it's done. It's a short-lived move. It's heading down, even though it's earnings season and so forth. This is not looking really that good. It's portending weaker prices. US 500, the S&P, same type of thing. Like I said, new highs from last week. Any new highs, opportunity to be selling to the downside. This is what it's looking like. We're heading to the downside with weakness. US technology, same type of dance. We've reached a peak, and like I pointed out, when the chart gets way up in the air like that, it's not much room for this to go higher, and you're just buying at highs. So um, time to sell. Okay, it's looking that way right now. Opportunity to any moves to the upside on any of these instruments, the U.S. S&P 500, the Russell, the Dow, silver, gold, are all opportunities to sell. Okay, so that's what I see shaping up for this week. So profitable trading to everyone. Keep your eye on the U.S. dollar if you're playing the major indices, the major U.S. The major currencies, U.S. dollar currencies, and profitable trading to everyone. Be safe. We're done now. Thank you.